Welcome back to the VAT channel, and today we are doing a trip to Peng Chau Island in Hong Kong. It's springtime already. Here you can see the shape of the island, and there's a lot of places here of interest, like for example the Golden Flower Shrine, there's the Seven Sisters Temple, Lung Mo Temple. So we're going to see how much we can fit in this afternoon, and let's go through to the ticket gates. There's some shops here if you want to buy something to eat on the way. And if you travel to Hong Kong, it's important to get one of these. It's an octopus card that allows you to enter through these ticket gates, and you can prepay, and so you don't need to worry about having the exact money to pay. So let's go through. So another useful thing here that I haven't seen before, I think this is a new feature, is bring your own bottle, and then you can get water here free of charge. You can get cold water, you can even get warm water. As long as you bring your own flask, you can fill up here. And if you don't have a flask, well, there's also options here to buy. But of course, if you bring your own, you can save $10. That's what they charge here for a bottle of water. So we are now on the ferry, and as you can see, these are nice padded seats. They're quite comfortable. And this is the fast ferry we're taking today. And that goes for 36.90 Hong Kong dollars. And it takes about half an hour with the fast ferry. If you take the ordinary one, it takes 45 minutes, and that will cost just under 20 Hong Kong dollars. And to get this to US dollars, to divide that by about 7.8. So very reasonable prices. And yes, so we'll be taking off soon, and I'll see you on Peng Chau Island. Peng Chau is a very small island of less than 1 square kilometers with about 6,000 inhabitants, a lot of them being fishermen. But if we go back in history to around 200 BC, it was known for limestone production. Today, as you can see, the housing is rather different from what you would find on Hong Kong Island or Kowloon. They are not skyscrapers here as you would see in these parts, but rather 3-story village houses. There's a lot of greenery. You can see a lot of beautiful green trees. And of course, where you have trees and where you have the sea, as you have on any island, you can expect to see birds. And some of the birds you will probably see when you come here would be various types of egrets and Eurasian magpies. And also there's a variety of miners here, a miner being one of the few types of species of birds that you can teach how to talk. And Peng Chau, you don't have to worry about safety here because it's the island in Hong Kong with the lowest crime rate. So if you like nature, if you want to come with peace of mind, Peng Chau is certainly a nice place to visit. So we are now on Peng Chau Island. We just got off the ferry, and it seems if bicycles here, it's a common mode of transport. If we look at the number of bicycles parked here at the ferry pier, and it's about lunchtime, so we would soon be having lunch. And we normally try and pack our own lunches. We've done the same today, where I made sandwiches with hummus and some vegan ham and some cucumber. We'll show you later when we have lunch what we're going to have. So on our way to lunch, we came across this interesting poster here. Top is Chinese, and then followed by French and Portuguese and Spanish, and English is right at the bottom. They even have some German here. Bitte schätzen Sie unsere Bäume, achten Sie auf den Bergfeuer, danke, which you can see the English translation. To cherish our trees, please pay attention to the mountain fire. So I have seen mountain fires in Hong Kong before. I haven't seen it on the islands, but this is interesting that they put it out here on the island. Hopefully today there won't be any fire. It's completely overcast. And yeah, I think we're really going to head off for lunch now, and we'll show you some more of the island later as well. So we found a nice place with a sea view to have lunch, and I carry one of these. Alison's mum always asks, is it clean? Well, I'm going to use this first to clean my hands before I start with lunch. And yeah, this is a sea view without costing anything. That's the benefit. Your own lunch. So here we go. The vegan sandwiches I made, and it's with whole wheat bread, and you can see some cucumber and carrots, olives, and also there's some vegan ham here with homemade hummus. And if you're interested in the hummus recipe, maybe you can ask in the comments. If there's enough interest, I can give you the recipe how to make your own hummus at home, which will be much cheaper than buying it in the shops. This is the Seven Sisters Temple, and it's actually a very small structure. This is part of it, and you can see some fruit and incense there being offered to this goddess. Apparently she's called Tek Loi, and the story is that she was one of 7 sisters falling in love with a human being, and as punishment she could only see him once a year, and then Oriental magpie robins would, according to this story, once a year they'd build a bridge so the two of them can meet. And there are 2 other little sections here. They both look very similar. In here you can see it's about the same as the other one, and this one we have to walk up some stairs. And as you notice here, there's a lot of color, a lot of red. That's supposed to bring good luck, according to Chinese. There's a tiny one here. Interesting also to notice they make use of solar power. And this is the biggest of these little temples or shrines. And it's remarkable that the whole religion was formed out of this. It started apparently around 200 BC, where this tale was invented. And today, this is one of the folk religions in Hong Kong and other parts of the Far East. And a bit ironically, these 2 lovers, this goddess and the human she fell in love with, they could only meet, like I said, once a year through this bridge built by the Oriental magpie robins. But people worship her if they want to get married or if they want to have children. So I wonder if people here think it's a good idea to meet just once a year. It tells you something about how people think about relationships. Maybe if you stay together without fighting, they consider that to be a good relationship. Who knows? So as we started our walk, we saw this helicopter landing spot. I'm not sure what kind of helicopters would land here. If you know, perhaps you can let me know in the comments. I would guess it may be the military or the government landing here, but I can only guess. There's no sign there to show what kind of helicopter would land there. So let's continue walking. There's a lot of birds I can hear. That's what I've got this lens for. I've got a 500mm lens. Hopefully we can see some beautiful birds today. So we came across this little beach over here. As you can see, it's pretty quiet. There's just one person on the beach, and apparently that big structure over there, that building complex, that's the Disneyland Hotel. So if you want a nice, quiet afternoon, maybe you can come to this little beach. It's so small, the beach doesn't even have a name. And there's some nice rocks here to sit on. Over there you can see somebody's fishing on the rocks, and the water looks quite clear. So if you're into small beaches, well, this may be the place for you to come and visit. If you want to get away from it all, just come and listen to the sea and the birds. If you come to Peng Chau, come and find this beach. So far we haven't had much luck with birds, although we can hear them. They're a little bit too far to photograph. But we did come across the old fisherman's rock. And you can see it's a very prominent rock over there, which reminds me of my grandfather, who used to be a fisherman. In South Africa, he used to go to a place they called the Preekstoel in Margate. And there was a chain. He had to get up very early in the morning, put on a raincoat, and then he would hold on to this chain. And then he would come back with massive fish that my grandmother would then make for breakfast. So I wonder how many people stood on that rock to try and catch fish for their family. Perhaps if you were one of them, if you ever stood on that rock to catch fish, you can let us know. So let's walk a bit further. This is another little beach here on Peng Chau Island. And we're going to go up those stairs and then we'll see what we can find on the other side. Perhaps there's some birds over there. So one thing you notice when you come and walk in Hong Kong, when you go out for hikes, a lot of these routes, whether you're out on an island or whether you just do some other hikes in mountains here, they are actually paved like this with steps. Now that's something you don't really find in South Africa. So it's pretty easy to walk up here, especially if you're on a healthy plant-based diet like myself. It's very easy to walk here. If 10 is the most difficult, I guess this would be around a 5. It's quite easy for all ages. We've even seen some old people today walking here. And this is the best time of the year to do it. You come either in spring, like we're doing today, or you want to come in autumn, because Hong Kong summers can be really hot. The real field temperature here can get up to around 47, 48 in the summer. And that could be very exhausting. So we normally do our outings either March, April, May, or again later in the year, like December, January. So let's continue and see what we can find on this route. So earlier we saw that sign about fires, and I guess they do get a lot of fires here, because here they have these fire beaters and they are used to extinguish fires. It looks like it's a bamboo handle, and then there's rubber here in the front. So I can imagine that you can beat a fire with this, or if you have a very naughty child, perhaps this can also be quite handy. If you bought your child a lucky packet and they're naughty, well, you can get some retribution with one of these. Look what we've come across here. These massive fruits, they call jackfruit. Now these ones are not the biggest you can find. If you go to Thailand, they can grow much bigger. And it's interesting, there's even a sign here in Chinese that says they're selling the jackfruit. I don't know whose tree this is, but they're selling it at 30 Hong Kong dollars for what they call a ketty. Now in my language, Afrikaans, a ketty is like a catapult that you can use to shoot birds or something. But in Cantonese, ketty apparently means about 600 grams. So that's what they're selling the fruit for. And if we walk around here to the other side, you can also see a big bunch of bananas. There's a lot of banana trees here. There's a massive bunch of bananas here, over there as well. Not sure if they sell the bananas as well. And you can hear that dove in the background. It reminds me when we lived on a farm in Carltonville, or just outside Carltonville when I was a little boy. We used to hear these doves on the farm as well. So it shows again that you get similar bird species, some of them at least, all around the world. So let's carry on and see what else we can find on Peng Chau Island.
係啊，因為我
係咪買蕉啊？有啊，有蕉買啊！即刻摘俾你，樹上熟嗰啲蕉。
Here we came across the owner of these banana and jackfruit trees. And he's been growing these for a number of years already, not so much to make money. He said it's more to nurture his own health and also that of the people that he sells them to. And it's not too expensive. It's about 15 Hong Kong dollars for 600 gram, which translates into just under $2. And I think for organic fruit, that's not a bad price. And as is common in Hong Kong, there's a lot of syncretism here. This old man says he's a Christian, but he learned meditation at a Buddhist monastery. But he donated apparently a large sum of money to the Christian and Missionary Alliance. And he demonstrated a little bit about how one would do meditation by, you would sit down and then you'd start I guess loosening your neck. He was speaking all in Cantonese, so this is just a rough translation of what he was talking about as he showed us around his farm. As we came to the end of our trip, the microphone started playing up, so for this visit to Tin Hau Temple and a couple of other sections, I had to do a voiceover afterwards. Now, Tin Hau Temple, this is just a small one here on Peng Chau Island. This one was built in 1792, but there are various other temples in Hong Kong with the same name. Now, the name means goddess of the sea or queen of heaven. And in mainland China, the same goddess is known as Manchu. Now, this was apparently a real person from Fujian province, which at the age of 13 met a Taoist priest who taught her how to predict the future, the weather, and also help those who were sick and weak. It was said that she traveled above the sea to save the people who were being drowned. People therefore look upon her as a goddess of safety on the sea. Sometimes people will also pray to her to calm the seas or for full fish nets, which reminds one of the story where Jesus told his disciples to cast out their nets and they pulled them up full. So very interesting to see how these different gods and goddesses in the Far East in some respect relate to those of what we read in the Bible of Jesus. So we've come across a crematorium here and they call it green burial. As you see here at the entry, they say love living on. And here in Asia, they mostly cremate people instead of burying them. That sound in the background is that of an Asian kuh. And there we can see an oriental garden lizard sitting here on that stem. Looks almost like a chameleon, but these ones, they move very fast. So if I try and get closer now, it's probably going to run away very fast. It's unlike a chameleon, it can't run. There you see how fast it can move. One of the defense mechanisms built in by our loving Creator. So let's walk on a bit and see what it looks like in this crematorium. We're going to get closer to this Asian kuh as well. Again, there's a lot of steps here to climb. So if you're not on a very healthy diet, you may find this walk rather exhausting. So I recommend that you also consider following a plant-based diet like myself and some sports stars like Novak Djokovic, Serena Williams and her sister Venus and many other famous people, like the strongest man in the world. It's also on a plant-based diet, and here we are. So here's another section where I had to do a voiceover, and we're at the crematorium here. And as I was walking up here, I noticed that some of the people died fairly young. There's one of them who was only in her 30s, and I have pictures here, interestingly, of the deceased. This one I was pointing to here, she died in her 30s. There's the name in Chinese. But there was also some of them, like that one I was pointing to there, with an English name, Michael Terrence. And then as I walked to the other side, I noticed that some of them were cremated, obviously not cremated together, but they had their ashes put together here. You can see various of these with two faces or two photographs where I suppose the ashes were put together in the same box there. And once again, there's Chinese writing with a description, I guess, of their lives, and some of them had crosses indicating that they were Christians who died. It was a very nice and peaceful place here to come and have as your final resting place on this earth. Eventually we did see some birds, and the first one of these that we got footage of is a crested myna. Not a big bird, only 25 centimeters, weighing up to 120 grams, but what makes them interesting is that they have the ability to imitate human sound. Not in the wild, but if you keep them in a cage, you can teach them to talk. And the next one we saw was a much bigger bird, even though it's called a little egret. They weigh up to 550 grams. They do not have the ability to talk, but what makes them interesting is that they lay blue eggs. So if you see a blue egg, it might just be one of a little egret. And the most interesting bird we saw today was a Eurasian magpie. Now, these birds are quite remarkable. Their brain to body mass ratio is outmatched only by that of humans and equals that of aquatic mammals and great apes. They have the ability to make and use tools, imitate human speech, grieve, play games, and work in teams. The last bird we got footage of is a spotted dove. It's also the only bird we saw today that is mainly herbivorous. The other birds we saw, they all have a mixed diet. They omnivorous birds, but spotted doves would mainly feed on seeds. Occasionally they may have an insect, and they can be identified by the black ring around their neck with white spots, and that's where the name comes from, spotted dove. So we're here at another temple, and if you translate it to English, it's called a Dragon Mother Temple. You can see here there's a lot of dragons painted on here, and the story dates back to about 290 BC, where a woman collected stones and she kept those at home, and after several months it turned out to be actually snake eggs. So the snakes hatched and she looked after them, but then after some time those snakes disappeared, and years later they came back as dragons to what is now known as the Dragon Mother, and she's worshipped as a goddess, and apparently even one of the emperors prayed to her for rain. So there's a lot of these folk religion temples you can find on Peng Chau Island. So here again, some incense that they're burning. And there's a lot of fruit that they use, I guess, as offerings. You can get some idea here on the inside what it looks like. So here on the inside of this little temple, you can see an image of this goddess, and the writing, the Chinese writing that you saw there, that refers to a sacred wise character. And you notice again, all the writing is in gold. You can see the prominent dragons and also a lot of red. These are usually the preferred colors at temples, gold and red. As we were about to board the ferry back to Central, we came across these kids on their bicycles and they seemed interested in my camera with a long lens and us making a video. So we spent a little bit of time with them. Unfortunately, again, the microphone didn't work, so none of the sound recorded. And then as we re-entered the boarding place for the ferry, I noticed that there are other destinations you can also go to. So as you can see on the description there's Muiwo and Peng Chau and another island you can visit from here by ferry. But we had to go back to Central. It was getting rather late and we had to go and make some dinner. But if you do come to Peng Chau, perhaps you can also visit some other islands if you come early enough. So we're on the ferry back, and this one is actually even better. As you can see, the seats, they almost look like a business class seat on an airplane. So if I can sum up Peng Chau, I think it's a place perhaps worth visiting for a day trip. As you have seen, there are a lot of places of historic interest and a few small beaches. But that whole walk takes about 3.5 to 4 hours. You can perhaps stay overnight if you want to see what it's like there early in the morning. But if you only have an afternoon, that's certainly enough to visit Peng Chau. And this ferry goes to Central Ferry Pier. And from there, you can get a bus either going to Hong Kong Island, or you can also connect to the MTR system that can take you anywhere in Hong Kong. So I think I'm going to end this video here and join us again for our next trip.